forget for a moment that we are in a war. Someone gets murdered by their son. It's a horrific tragedy. This is a horrible story. And nobody deserves that. I don't care what their politics are, what they said on the internet or on television. Nobody deserves to be murdered, stabbed to death with their wife by their own son, who they tried to help, and their best friend discovers the corpses. It's despicable. And it's despicable to make fun of that. And I do think that, look, somebody like George Bush passes away of old age at the very end, and you talk about his political legacy, that's one thing. Some guy, some producer, some civilian dies at the hands of his kid. It's such a grisly situation. It is objectively awful to make fun of that. Now, if Trump were actually doing what he promised to do, you could overlook the fact that he's a douchebag. You could overlook the fact that he's vain, that he's a narcissist, that he's tactical but not strategic. You could overlook all these things if he was bringing home the goods. That was kind of the deal in 2016. You said, we don't love everything about Trump, but you know what? We're willing to accommodate. It's an acquired taste, but it's okay because he's doing all these other things. Well, what's actually the pitch now? We get nothing. We get no concessions. There are no deportations. We haven't ended one of the wars. We haven't remade the federal bureaucracy, and then he's a dick on top of it. Then it's all about his vanity and his own self-aggrandizement on top of it. What is the redeeming quality now? It's nothing. It's hollow. It's empty. So that's my take on the Rob Reiner stabbing. No one should be making fun of that. It's not funny. Who could honest to God look at that and laugh? Charlie Kirk, on the other hand, this is somebody who is my mortal enemy, who he was actively trying to suppress my career, ruin my life, all these things. He got shot by a political partisan. He wouldn't debate me, but he would debate the type of person that murdered him. Someone like me could have gotten on the show and said, I guess you should have debated me. I could have said some smart alecky thing. I wasn't even thinking that way. Because a young person got shot in public for basically no reason. And that's awful. It's awful that there are two fatherless kids. It's awful that this guy had a daughter who now has to live with this. Her brother is in prison for murdering her parents who are now dead. Her life is shattered and destroyed, and so many people's lives are destroyed. You go on True Social and make a joke about Trump derangement syndrome. It just goes to show there was never anything there. There was never a center. It was always empty. There was nothing inside there. And there's something tragic about that. Being a part of it for so long, I jumped off along the way, but you thought at one time that Trump really believed in America, believed in people, or something. I think he believes honestly in nothing. And now,
hello, welcome to a new edition of the Right Wing Populist Podcast. I am the Right Wing Populist. So today I want to talk about Nick Fuentes. We love talking about Nick Fuentes on the Right Wing Populist Podcast. He's a content machine. He's so controversial. Everyone gets triggered by him. Everyone has these ridiculous opinions about him. Except for me, I have the correct opinion on Nick Fuentes, and it's a nuanced opinion. I don't hate him. I don't love him. I think he's fascinating. I'm sympathetic to him in some ways. A little repulsed by him in other ways, but, he was on his show last night, I guess, and, Rob Reiner, the former director, he passed away, or he was killed, it looks like by his son, and Trump responded to that on Truth Social, and let's be honest, it was a gross post. It was gross. He's basically saying that Rob Reiner died because of Trump derangement syndrome. Sort of uncalled for, but as you just heard, I thought what Fuentes had to say about it was sort of ridiculous coming from him. But before we get into all of that, I want you to subscribe, whether it's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever the hell you listen to this amazing audio experience. I'd greatly appreciate it. Now, a couple of things. Number one, you want to remember with Rob Reiner that this dude, he went crazy during Trump's first term. Like, he was one of these absurd MSNBC drunk libtards that was a huge Russiagator. I mean, I could read you posts, and maybe I'll do it, of him talking about how Trump was controlled by the Russians. In fact, I will. I'm going to read you some of the crazy stuff that Rob Reiner was saying about Trump, particularly during his first term, just so I can give you more context about why Trump, I don't really support what Trump said, but I just want to give you more context to explain why Trump has so much disdain toward Rob Reiner. See, let me read a couple of these. Quote, after speaking with many government sources who indicate direct connection between DJT and Putin, investigation must happen before DJT's installed. That was him calling basically for Trump's inauguration to be canceled. Here's another one. Russia hacks our election to help DT. FBI violates Hatch Act and colludes with Trump. He is an illegitimate POTUS, so he calls Trump illegitimate. David Corn on AM Joy made the case closed point. DT's tweet admitting Russia's attack made DT complicit. He aided and abetted. Hashtag treason. So he's calling Trump a traitor. When Fox says Donald Trump colluding with the enemy is not a crime, the fight to save democracy is now an all-out war. U.S. stay strong. Hashtag treason. Here's another one. Wall Street Journal bombshell. First bit of concrete evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. All roads lead to Flynn. Fuses long, but Donald Trump going down. Here's another one. It is now crystal clear that Russia had a profound impact on the 2016 election. They have attacked the U.S. and are continuing to attack the U.S. If Trump is unwilling to acknowledge this and unwilling to protect the U.S., the word treason is now center stage. Again, and there's another one. He colluded with Russia to steal an election. Now he's letting Putin kill the U.S. GOP, crickets. And here's another one. In 2016, we discovered that Putin helped Trump steal the election. Now it's in plain sight. Unlimited lies and disinformation on Facebook. Backing a vote candidate. GOP, if you care about the survival of democracy, you know what to do. Fact. Trump colluded with Russia. He did it in plain sight. Mueller was charged with looking for the crime of conspiracy and said he didn't have enough evidence for that. Counterintelligence investigations can take years to unravel. Mueller was shut down by Barr. And it goes on. I can read you so many more. This dude was a deranged left-wing lunatic. And he also called for Trump to be indicted over the whole Russia bullshit. This dude was unhinged. Now, so you could understand why Trump doesn't like Rob Reiner. I think it makes sense. Now, I'm not defending what Trump said. I'll read you exactly what Trump said. I think you probably have heard it by now. I'm not defending it. I think it was in very poor taste. Let me read it. So, I'm sure most of you people listening know what he said, but let me read exactly what Trump said on True Social that has gone all this controversy and what Nick was reacting to. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mild crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. I shouldn't be laughing, but come on, this shit's kind of funny. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness. And with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. I shouldn't be laughing, but come on, that's kind of funny. Trump deranged. He died because of Trump deranged. No, I think he died because he was knifed to death, dude. So, is that post in poor taste? Yeah, of course it is. Should he have posted that? No. Should this have been one of the few times a White House aide sort of took Trump to the side and said, hey, listen, boss, I don't think you should post that. Yes, I agree. So, Fuentes saying that Trump's like a bad person because of it, it's like, okay, it was a bad thing to do. But of all the people to criticize someone for saying something edgy, it's like, talk about a glass house, dude. You're Nick Fuentes. You're like the king of the edgelords, dude. You've said ridiculous crap, much worse than Trump has said. Now, I get it. Trump's the president. Nick Fuentes is just a streamer. But, really, dude, you're going to lecture Trump, someone that you used to worship, because Trump was critical of someone who was an asshole to him? Like, I get it. Was the Truth Social in poor taste? Yes. It was extremely poor taste of Trump. I would not have said that. But Nick Fuentes, who's denied the Holocaust, okay, which is disgusting, praised Hitler, talking about how cool Hitler is, says he loves Stalin or is a big fan of Stalin. That's way worse than what Trump said. Trump was just making an inappropriate jab at someone who died. Should you do that? No. Is it more of an intimate type of thing? Yeah. But Fuentes has said much worse things. Like the fact that Fuentes has the gall to criticize Trump for saying something naughty or saying something edgy is like absurd. Look at this shit that, Nick's been saying about Piers Morgan and his family. I know it's in response to what Piers Morgan talked about his dad on their show together. I understand that. But Nick Fuentes is not, he uses fiery rhetoric all the time. So of all people to criticize Trump for an edgy post, it's just so ridiculous. And like, this is the problem, and I don't want to get into a big Nick Fuentes rant, but this is the problem I have with him. He lacks consistency. He just does. And I get it, he crashes out on people. I crash out on people too in my private life at the very least, but like, he's just so weird, and like I said, he's not consistent. Just look at the 24 campaign. He spent much of the campaign undermining the Trump campaign, not supporting it, and that's fine, but he wasn't consistent with it. At the end, he was like celebrating that Trump had won. And you could even see on his election live stream, he was going back and forth between, do I want to be supportive of this? Do I want to be critical of this? Like, he couldn't make up his mind. He then posted on Twitter or X that, oh my God, I can't believe we did it again, referencing Trump's victory. But he basically told people to vote for Kamala, that it would be better to vote for Kamala. Then he's trying to take at least credit. Now, maybe that was him just trolling. That's the other problem with Fuentes. You never know when he's trolling or not. And I appreciate that, and I understand that. I'm not trying to be critical of it. But it's hard to read it. It's hard to take him seriously. And that's the problem. And look, I know if any of his supporters do listen to this, they're going to, say this is being hypocritical or rich coming from me, given my small platform. But Fuentes is never going to be he's never going to be able to lead a serious movement, because ultimately the movement's just about him. He criticized Trump in that clip for being basically vacuous. Well, Fuentes is basically vacuous in the sense that he cares, like the litmus test to him is whether or not someone's going to support him or not, or denounce him or not. And that's not the makings of a serious political movement, the Groypers, America First. That's not serious. Like, you even heard this when he talked about it on Tucker Carlson's podcast. The whole reason he went against Joe Kent was because Joe Kent backed off him or publicly disowned him. And I can understand from a personal standpoint why that would be hurtful. I totally get that, especially if, Fuentes was communicating with Joe Kent during this time. So I could totally get why Fuentes would be turned off by Joe Kent disavowing him like that. I totally get it. But that shouldn't be the litmus test of whether or not you're going to support someone, whether they will personally denounce you or not. That's basically what Trump does. Again, he calls Trump vacuous and not having any real convictions. But Fuentes displays similar behavior, albeit he's more of an intellectual than Trump. He's smarter than Trump. I think that's obvious. I love Trump, but Fuentes has a very high IQ. Not glazing Fuentes, as you can tell by this podcast, but I'm just trying to be objective about it. He's very smart, very talented. But like, why, again, he's criticizing Trump for similar behavior that he does. And it's like, why, dude? He just wants to be able to attack Trump because Trump is not as popular as he once it was, especially among the GOP base. He's still, as I talked about yesterday, he's still pretty popular for a second-term president. But the aura from the 24 campaign is certainly not there. The aura from the assassination attempt is no longer there. There's no question about that. And I think Fuentes just wants to disassociate from Trump. Partly because I think Fuentes wants the mantle of America First just to belong to him. And again, I can understand that. I'm not trying to be like a dick to Fuentes. I'm trying to be reasonable, but it's like, bro, stop trying to criticize Trump on false pretense just because you want to make it seem like you're the true America First and Trump isn't. You even admit you got America First from Trump, bro. So, Anyway, I wanted to talk about that. I just thought it was just very hypocritical of Fuentes to do that. It's like, what are you doing, bro? You're going to criticize Trump for being an edgelord? You're the edgelord. And I say that as a compliment, not an insult. So, I don't know. It's just, again, it's rich coming from him. But it's not, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. This isn't substance stuff. This is sort of surface level talk. So, anyway, I want to get to one other topic before I end the pod. So I guess Susie Wiles did a interview with like Vanity Fair or one of these ridiculous outlets. Again, why is the Trump administration talking to these left-wing outlets? It's beyond me. I don't understand it. But she was quoted of saying, Susie Wiles, who's the chief of staff of the Trump administration, the second Trump administration, who was also the campaign manager of Trump's 24 campaign. And she was quoted of saying this. I'll read you a clip from the piece. Over the course of 11 interviews, Miss Wiles offered pungent assessments of the president and his team. Mr. Trump has an alcoholic's personality. Vice President J.D. Vance has been a conspiracy theorist for a decade. And his conversation from Trump critic to ally was based not on principle but was sort of political because he was running for Senate. Then she said Elon Musk is like a ketamine addict. And she said a bunch of ridiculous. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Number one, why is she saying this stuff? I guess she went on X to try to debunk these statements, but I'm pretty sure she said it. Like, why is she going and doing interviews and saying this stuff? First off, the fact that she would say that about J.D. Vance and that his conversion to Trump was political calculation, that's just disgusting and gross. J.D. Vance is awesome. Again, another thing I disagree with Fuentes. J.D. Vance is like the best vice president we've ever had. He's awesome. He has true working class roots. He's a veteran. He's a real populist. So it's just more of a sign that there's clearly people in the GOP establishment that wants to challenge Vance for the nomination, and her statements confirm that. And another thing, like why did Trump even pick her to be the chief of staff? I understand wanting her to be the campaign manager. She successfully ran his campaigns in Florida back in 2016 and 2020. But in 2016 and 2020, Florida was an actual swing state. In 2016, it was very close. Trump only won it by about over a point. So she had success. So I get why he would want her for the larger campaign structure in his third campaign. But she didn't need to be chief of staff. She's a swamp creature. I mean, that's one of the reasons she got with the Trump campaign is because she had friction with DeSantis. DeSantis didn't like her. He thought she was trying to get too much power in the Florida GOP establishment. So there was always tension there. And frankly, I think one of the reasons she agreed to join Trump's campaign was a way to get back at DeSantis because her and him weren't getting along. Because DeSantis, I think, could see that, she's a backstabber and she's power hungry. And his wife apparently didn't like Susie and saw that too. So good for DeSantis. But again, why she would say this stuff? It's just gross. She needs to leave. Susie Wiles is awful. We need to get her out of here. Terrible person. Get Susie Wiles out of the administration. I understand wanting her for the campaign, but the campaign's over, bro. I know Trump likes to pretend that the 2024 campaign is never ending and that it's like the peak of existence and that no one should forget the fact that he won all 7 swing states in the popular vote by 2 million votes. But bro, just let it go. Let Susie Wiles go, bro. Move on. It's time to move on, Donald. It's time to move on. So anyway, and also Susie, she admitted that these drug strikes that are happening in Venezuela is really just to pressure Maduro out. She said that. The official line of the administration is that this is just about controlling the drug flow of fentanyl and try to, destroying drug boats. But she then says in one of these interviews that no, this is a pressure campaign to get Maduro to step aside. It's like, what are you doing, lady? You can't say that if you're part of the administration. You can't say that. So she sucks. Get her out of here. Get Susie Wiles out of here. I don't care the hell well, I do care, but get her out of here, folks. Get Susie Wiles out of here. She's awful. So anyway, I think that's it for today, folks. Thanks for listening. Again, please subscribe, whether it's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Available on a bunch of the podcast platforms. I can't name them all, but if it's a podcast platform, it's probably available. And if you are listening on YouTube, please also like and leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm. The growth's been great the past 3 weeks or so. So let's keep it going. I really appreciate the support. I'm an independent content creator, folks. I'm doing honest work. I don't have an OnlyFans link in my bio, bro. I don't have shirtless pics posted all over the internet. I'm sure you guys would like it. I'm in pretty good shape. I'm over 6'3". I'm still in my 20s. My hairline is still decent for what it is. I could do all right if I tried that. But I want to do honest work, among other things about me. But I want to do honest work, folks. Honest work. Podcasting. Honest, God-fearing work. I don't need to show off my amazing body, my amazing over 6'3" body. I don't need to do that. My intellectualism can carry the day, folks. So, yes, please support. And like I told you yesterday, if we get to 1,000 subs, I will do a face reveal, and you get to see my beautiful face. And I'll do a full name reveal, but we have to get to 1,000 subs, folks. You got to get me to 1,000 subs. You think you can do it? I hope you can do it. Probably can't do it, but let's try, folks. Let's try to do it. Anyway, all jokes aside, I really do appreciate the support. We'll be back tomorrow. You guys have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.